Hridaya. ನಮೋ ನಮಃ ಗಂ ಗಣಪತಯೇ ನಮೋ ನಮಃ ಜೈ ಗಣೇಶ ಗಣನಾಥ ದಯಾನಿಧಿ ಸಕಲ ವಿಘ್ನಹರ ಹಮಾರಿ ಜೈ ಗಣೇಶ ಗಣನಾಥ ದಯಾನಿಧಿ ಸಕಲ ವಿಘ್ನಹರ ಹಮಾರಿ ಗಂ ಗಣಪತಯೇ ನಮೋ ನಮಃ 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 ಶುಕ್ಲಾಂಬರಧರಂ ವಿಷ್ಣು ಶಶಿವರ್ಣಂ ಚತುರ್ಭುಜಂ ಪ್ರಸನ್ನವದನಂ ಧ್ಯಾಯೇತ್ ಸರ್ವವಿಘ್ನೋಪಶಾಂತಯೇ ಗಂ ಗಣಪತಯೇ ನಮೋ ನಮಃ ಗಂ ಗಣಪತಯೇ ನಮೋ ನಮಃ ಗಂ ಗಣಪತಯೇ ನಮೋ ನಮಃ ಗಂ ಗಣಪತಯೇ ನಮೋ ನಮಃ ಗಂ ಗಣಪತಯೇ ನಮೋ ಜೈ ಗಣೇಶ ಗಣನಾಥ ದಯಾನಿಧಿ ಸಕಲ ವಿಘ್ನಹರ ಹಮಾರಿ ಜೈ ಗಣೇಶ ಗಣನಾಥ ದಯಾನಿಧಿ ಸಕಲ ವಿಘ್ನಹರ ಹಮಾರಿ ಗಂ ಗಣಪತಯೇ ನಮೋ ನಮಃ 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 ಗಂ ಗಣಪತಯೇ ನಮೋ
I'll turn on my microphone. Namaste. Welcome to our weekly online Satsang. The Flowering Heart Satsang brings people together from different continents, countries, belief systems, spiritual backgrounds, spiritual teachers and teachings. What we have in common is that we share the journey of awakening to our true identity, to our true selves, and the flowering of our hearts in oneness with the divine source within. So welcome. It's very important that humanity shift at this time. Probably no one needs to be persuaded when you look around. We're living in a world that's a world system, a civilization that is rooted in competition, conflict, and violence. And it needs to shift, and it needs to shift quickly into a new earth, a new world civilization that is rooted in cooperation, not competition, harmony, not conflict, and peace, not war and violence. In order for that to happen, we need to awaken beyond the confines and the illusion of the separate self. The separate self always feels threatened, afraid of being taken advantage of, feeling it needs to be protective, that it needs to compete. And when we awaken to our true self, we discover, when we look into another's eyes, we see ourselves looking back at us through their eyes, because deep, deep, deep within, we are all one. There is one consciousness that is the source of all existence, of all manifestation in the universe. We humans are just 8 billion quirky manifestations of one universal consciousness. When we awaken to that reality, not just believe it philosophically or religiously, no political movement, no spiritual movement, no philosophical movement has ever succeeded in transforming the human race. We've tried. And many, many of us have come to the realization that for the world to shift, for the world to change, we need to awaken to our true identity. Our true essence is enlightenment itself. That consciousness that is the source of our being at the very center of our spiritual hearts is fully enlightened, and it is divinity itself. So what we've been looking for, it turns out, has been inside of us all along. Look within. Go deeper, 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 until you come to the source within yourself, and you'll find you were the one you were looking for all that time. The outer world is a reflection of the inner world, so the light that comes to us through outer spiritual teachers, masters, gurus, that we experience in the outer world, perhaps attending processes or workshops or temples, places of power. All of these things, which may have had a huge and positive impact in our lives, are simply a mirror reflecting to us the reality of our true self. The light that shines through your master's face is you, your light. Sooner or later, we need to turn our vision around, stop being fixated on teachers, places, and things out there, and look within to discover the true source. So that's the Flowering Heart Path. More and more people are finding it. Sometimes people just refer to it as the Heart Path. But you're clearly on that path, or you wouldn't be here tonight. So welcome. We share throughout the satsang a transmission that we call the Flowering Heart Blessing. It's a direct transmission from the divine source of enlightened consciousness, unconditional love, and grace. It comes directly from the divine. The divine made it very clear to Suzanne and me that this Flowering Heart Blessing does not belong to any particular spiritual tradition or master or saint or avatar. It belongs to the divine itself. And it is given directly by the divine as a gift of grace. It's free. The divine said, don't charge for this because it's mine and I'm giving it away. We just act as instruments or vessels for that grace to flow through. And the divine said, furthermore, tell people when they receive the flowering heart blessing, they are immediately initiated and activated to share the blessing. So you're soaking in it right now. Please join us in sending the blessing by intention to everyone who's joining us in the satsang tonight, and hold the intention that it will also touch and flood everyone who watches the recording, the video recording of this satsang. Many, many, many times more people watch these satsangs in the week between Monday to Monday. And so we're always holding them in our intentions. In spirit, there is no distance in space or separation in time. It's all here and now. So please join us in sharing the blessing with everyone who's here. The blessing catalyzes the process of awakening in the receiver. It also melts blocks and impediments in the one who receives it. It takes us deeper into awakening if we're already awakened. It's a very beautiful thing. The divine knows exactly what we need and how to give it to us. All we need to do is open the door and invite the divine to let it flow. And the rest is a manifestation of the will of the divine presence and the outpouring of grace. So Suzanne is with me tonight, but only in spirit. You probably noticed that. She's visiting with some of her family members whom she has not seen in years, way back before the COVID pandemic began. And so she's been spending a few days with them. And I'm going to meet up with her tomorrow, and we're going to journey together to Casper, Wyoming, which is Suzanne's birthplace. I've been to Wyoming, but I've never been to Casper. And our dear friend George Sands, who some of you know from the old days of oneness, George lives with us about half the year in his motorhome out back of Flowering Heart Center. And the other half of the year, he's in Wyoming, usually, camping and fishing and kayaking, and he just loves the mountains and nature in Wyoming and Montana. So we're going to go spend a week out there. Suzanne will see some of her childhood friends, and I'll spend some time with my little brother George. So it'll be very nice. What that means for us is we won't be having the online satsang next Monday. We will not be having the in-person satsang, the blessing circle, or the Qigong and Taoist meditation class at the Flowering Heart Center here on Wednesday night, the 14th of September. So the 14th of September is off here at our center, and next Monday online will also be off. That's the 19th, I believe, or I think. Anyway, next Monday. Yeah, that would be the 19th. But after that, we'll be back and resume our normal schedule. So tonight we may go a little shorter. That depends on if anybody throws me a tasty question. That's what we open it up to next, is questions about the spiritual journey, the path of awakening, the path to divine union, meditation, spirituality, anything pertaining to the spiritual path. Best if it's your path and something that you're experiencing in the context of your spiritual practice. So maybe something you're experiencing in meditation, or feel blocked in some way, or just like some more light or clarity on awakening, on divine union. Please feel free to ask, and we open ourselves to the divine presence, and the divine always fills us with inspiration and light to share with you, so we all benefit. And I'll wait a few minutes and see if anyone brought something tonight. Okay. I'm wondering who Namaste Michael is. You can tell me who you are, and those of you who are, that's someone at Vimeo who identified themselves as Namaste Michael. I know, in fact, I'm named Michael. I know a number of Michaels, so tell me who you are if you want to. You don't have to. But we invite you, if you're viewing on one of these social media platforms, like Facebook Live, where most people tune in, to give us a like or a love so that we can go in at the end of the satsang and see who joined us. Alternatively, of course, you can always enter a comment in the chat, which is what you have to do if you're in, Vimeo or LinkedIn, something like that. But ask the presence. Ask the presence if there's something that you might be moved in your heart to ask that could open a larger discussion, conversation about some aspect of spirituality. And then just do it. Yeah. Namaste Michael says, we'll be blessed knowing that you are enjoying a vacation. Well, okay. It is the first time that I am traveling since before the pandemic, and I've focused much more on our local work. I used to travel, some of you know, constantly. I was on the road at least once a month, traveling around the country, doing oneness meditations, and going to India, 3 or 4 times a year, spending a month, sometimes 2 months at a time. So it's been really lovely to just stay rooted here in the temple. But I'm looking forward to the journey, and I'll let you know how it goes. Okay, so Julie says, I've had a very difficult year and I've got a great deal of pain, and hence, and then you continue, and anger. And it's such a struggle to release. So many tears, so much anger, and so much knowing I need to let go. Letting go is, of course, at the heart of our journey to oneness. Letting go is essential. It is the source of all of our suffering, psychological suffering, is resistance. Resistance to experiencing the fullness of something in our environment, something in our lives. Could be something that happened in the past, and we wouldn't allow ourselves or couldn't cope with the suffering, and so we repressed it and submerged it. And as we grow spiritually, that stuff comes up. And we're invited to let it all go. Resistance to feeling, and attachment to things that we can't let go of. These are the things that cause us to suffer, but it's not so easy to do. And I think, from what I'm hearing, many people have had a rough year. So that's where divine grace comes in. You ask the divine presence to help you. And then you give the divine time to do that. That's where a meditation practice is really, really very helpful. in meditation, and the best meditation is, I think, passive, where there's nothing to fix and there's nothing to figure out. And there's nowhere to go and nothing to attain. You just sit for at least 20 minutes and let whatever's inside of you unwind. You don't analyze it. You don't dwell on it, think about it, try to fix it, try to breathe through it, try to get rid of it. I mean, all of that is draining, and it's conflict. And that conflict drains us of energy and life. And it's often the cause, probably always, the reason for depression and psychological fatigue. So we take a strong intention to just accept whatever is in the present moment, because everything you need is here now. If enlightenment, if divine union were something in the future, well, it wouldn't be possible, because in awakened consciousness there is only now and here. In this moment, within you is everything you need. So just sit for at least 20 minutes a day. 20 minutes twice a day is better. And just let everything go. Now, to help you do that, if you have a connection with the presence and you can invoke and feel that space between the thoughts, between the breaths, just keep resting in the presence and returning to that. If you don't have that yet, you can focus on your breath. You could inwardly repeat the divine name, a divine name, or a centering word, which is not necessarily a mantra or a divine name. It could just be, let go. And then every time the mind grabs you, because the mind won't stop. So don't try to stop it. Don't try to stop it from chattering. Just stop focusing on it and focus on just being. And when you get caught up in trying to fix it, trying to think your way through it, struggling with it, gently let go and return to that sacred word, which could be let go, release, rest, God, divine, light. Choose any word. It's just a symbol of releasing everything else and recentering your consciousness on the presence and yielding to its unfolding within you. Again, I think the simplest practice is just resting in the presence. But so in order to let go, we have to take the time to allow that to happen. And there are so many different forms of meditation. Find one that works for you. For some people, it might be walking in the woods, where you just get out of your mind and let it all flow. In these days, it's been quite a challenge, I understand. Julie says, it's really a struggle even trying to reboot a spiritual practice because of the depth of pain and anger. Well, pain and anger need to be fully experienced, not expressed, experienced. If you resist anger, it just grows inside of you, it festers and gains strength. And sooner or later it tends to overwhelm us and we end up expressing it, which is generally destructive. Although there is pure anger, which is the energy to face injustice with clarity and calm from your heart. But most of us, it's a different kind of anger when anger comes around. So what do? Well, there's anger. Don't judge yourself because there's anger. Accept that. Everyone experiences anger. Jesus Christ experienced anger. It's part of the human palette of emotions. And so just don't judge yourself and say, well, if I'm spiritual, I shouldn't feel anger, or if everything... Why wouldn't you feel anger over some of the things that have gone on in your life and in the world? Why wouldn't you? Of course you would. If you allow yourself to fully embrace it and experience it, it discharges, it releases, and you experience peace. What in the East is called bliss, but people misunderstand bliss as some kind of peak emotional state, when what's really meant is just the inner peace of, it's okay. I'm not resisting. I'm not being battered by this thing. That's what happens when we embrace it and experience it. And the divine helps with the rest. It's not ours to fix. It's just ours to accept and allow ourselves to experience deeply. Joanne wrote, I accidentally offended some people and have apologized, but I'm beating myself up over the mistake. Well, how human of you. Any forgiveness practices I can try? Forgiving yourself. Yeah. Well, that's what the mind does, which is why we need to be more awakened, so that we can accept ourselves and our mistakes and keep flowing and not beat ourselves up. That really doesn't help. I mean, all of us have offended people that we care about, and it's wonderful that you noticed and you took responsibility and you apologized. If the relationship with them is set right and healed, then your energy should be going into growing in the flowering of your heart. So you're much less likely to be insensitive. The only reason that we offend people usually is because we're insensitive, and then we realize what we've done when we've done it. And that's how we grow. We make mistakes, but you won't be that insensitive again. So embrace yourself just like you would another who offended you and then sincerely apologized from their heart. You would, of course, forgive that person. It might take a little bit of time. Depends on how much hurt there is, because unforgiveness is hurt. That's the cause of it. When we fully experience the pain releases. And even though there's an unpleasant memory, perhaps, of something that happened, we're not experiencing the pain because we're no longer resisting it. We've embraced it and released it, and suddenly there's nothing left to forgive. So do the same here. I mean, you hurt yourself. There's a part of you, a piece of you, that acted out in a way that offended someone else and hurt you. It upset you, and so you've been beating yourself up over it. Well, you can imagine that part of yourself is standing right in front of you with your eyes closed. And you can talk to it. You can tell it. You know, when you act out like that, when you offend people, or when you're insensitive, it disappoints me and it hurts me. Why do you do that? And then listen to what that part of yourself, that angry shadow, says. It probably will explain to you why it was offensive or angry or insensitive or whatever it was. And then forgive that part of yourself just like it's another being. and ask it to forgive you for judging it, because you're judging that part of yourself. So forgive and seek forgiveness, and then when that dialogue is complete, you can embrace that part of yourself with unconditional love and bring it home. This process actually works. Sometimes it's more effective if you're led through the process, but anyone can do it. There's also something called the compassionate exchange, where you would imagine that person, whether it's another person that's a problem for you, or whether it's a part of yourself, a shadow, the offensive self. and you breathe into yourself all of the density and the darkness and the offensiveness of that shadow part of your being, and breathe out to it unconditional love, liberation, clear, open, unimpeded space. And keep inhaling the density and the darkness into your heart. Breathe it into your heart, and breathe out to that piece of yourself unconditional love until you merge. It's really a beautiful process, and it works. But as long as we objectify part of ourselves, you're the offensive self, or the offender self, and you always get me into trouble, or you're the angry self, or you're the seeking self. You just are always seeking, whatever it is. You can take that piece of yourself that you're in conflict with, and bring that shadow home. Have a dialogue with it, forgive it, ask its forgiveness, embrace it, breathe into yourself its density and darkness, and breathe out to it pure, unconditional love and light. Try it. It's called the compassionate exchange. So, Michael in Vimeo says, I am here calm and supported by my children after more than 2 years because I cannot find a job. But I would like to work and do service. How can I ask the divine? Well, asking the divine for help is a process rooted in relationship. So, as we develop contact with the divine, invite it to become personal. The divine will appear or manifest to you in any form you desire. The divine is humble. It doesn't have to be some light being on a high precipice. If you'd like the divine to speak to you through a tree or a rock or a mountain or a star, or come to you in a formless light or absolutely invisible presence, the divine will be happy to do any of that. And if you can't make up your mind, the divine will choose its own form to manifest to you. But begin by connecting with the presence and relating to it. And then, when you feel that connection, because prayer isn't just asking for things. Prayer is communion, communicating, connection. In that place of connection, ask the divine for what it is you desire, in this case a job. See yourself working. If you can be specific, the kind of job you'd like, the kind of work you'd like to be doing. When you ask the divine, believe that the divine is hearing you, and believe that you're receiving it. in spirit, in faith, before it ever manifests in your outer life. If you connect with the divine and you ask the divine and you feel that you're receiving it, and then you enter into gratitude, it will manifest. It's important to be clear about why you want it. I think it's pretty clear why you want the job, but tell the divine, this is why I want it, and this is what I will do. This is how I'll pay it forward. This will be my contribution to the greater good when I receive the job. And then keep seeing yourself as having it. Whatever you desire, when you pray, believe you have received it, and you will have it. It works. The thing is to believe that you're receiving it when you pray. And that the ability to believe that you're receiving is rooted in a relationship. So begin to notice the hand of the divine at work in your life. Begin to notice just the simple things that go your way, whether it's a parking space you needed, or you think of someone and that you haven't talked to in a year and then they call you out of nowhere. Just notice these little coincidences and see in that the hand of the divine at work and begin to express gratitude. And those little coincidences will become bigger and bigger coincidences, and then full-blown miracles begin to happen in your life. And then there's trust. You're beginning to have this connection of trust with this divine being. And then you can start to believe more and more that when you ask, this being who just is helping you, who is nothing but unconditional love, absolutely no judgment toward you. The divine is completely unconditionally loving. As you deepen in your experience of that, you'll be able to ask and trust that you're actually receiving and count it done. You don't need to keep asking over and over again. What that means is either you think the divine didn't hear you, or you think the divine isn't listening to you or saying no. There has to be this ease where you know. We have this little plaque on the wall in our center that says, faith is not knowing that God can. It's knowing that God will. Faith is not believing that God can, it's knowing that the divine will do it. So we'll okay. Moreya. Wonderful. So we will definitely be holding a special intention in prayer for you and for that situation. Okay, well, I think it's time to move into a deeper transmission of blessing by intention. So I'd like to invite you to close your eyes and center in your heart, and there invite the divine presence to flood you, to fill you, to heal you, to make you whole, to make you one, spirit, soul, and body. The divine presence that lives in you loves you so deeply. We can't even comprehend the depth of that love. There is no separation. The divine is your true essence. If there was any separation, just the tiniest bit between you and the divine source, you wouldn't exist. It is your source and your center. It is enlightenment. It is the divine. And it yearns to free you from suffering in your spirit, in your soul, your mind, your emotions, in your body, to free you from suffering in your relationships, in your finances. The divine yearns to set you free, to awaken you to oneness with the light, with the source. The divine knows what you need because it is all-knowing. It is all-wise. It knows what you truly need and how to give it to you. It is all-powerful. Nothing is impossible for this divine that dwells in you. And it is pure love. It does not judge you for your mistakes. We need to stop judging ourselves. The divine doesn't do that. No. So simply turn to the presence. If you have a deep need tonight, you can tell the divine, but it already knows. Just one little word, help, would be more than enough. And then just let go and let the presence work. Drink in the flowering heart blessing. Let it fill you and transform you on every level of your being. Soak in it, drink it in, receive. There's nothing for you to do now. Just keep receiving, drinking it in. Allow the presence to work on you, in you, through you. Now imagine, with your eyes still closed, that we're sitting in a circle together, a blessing circle. Lift up your hands with your palms open, facing forward, and invite the presence to pour the flowering heart blessing through you to all those sitting in the circle with you and the needs they've brought with them tonight, knowing that they're inviting the divine to flow through them to you in return. Now you can relax your hands. And when you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes and begin to make eye contact with me as we begin the light meditation. The presence pours oceans of light and grace and unconditional love and blessing through me to you, through every pore of my being, but especially through my eyes. The eyes have been called the doorways of the soul. The light shines through my eyes into your eyes, deep, deep into your heart of hearts, through your eyes into your spiritual heart. There, igniting the flames of divine love and transformation of awakening to burn brighter and brighter and brighter. There's nothing you need to do. Just keep looking at my eyes. close your eyes now and meditate with me for a few more moments as the grace settles within. Now keep meditating as long as it feels nice to you, or find a place nearby to lie in Shavasana. That's to lie on your back with your eyes closed, your arms loosely at your sides with your palms open, turned upward, and just let yourself dissolve in gratitude in the presence. I love you very much. I really deeply value these times when we connect like this, and want you to know, until we cross paths again, the divine in me beholds the divine in you, and I bow to you. Namaste.